Hello and welcome. For as long as we can remember, we've been fighting a war against malaria, a disease carried by a tiny insect that has a truly devastating impact across the globe. But what if we could turn the tables? What if we could use the mosquito's own biology against it? Well, today, we're going to explore a powerful and honestly revolutionary new technology that's trying to do just that. But first, to really understand why a new solution is so important, we have to get a feel for the scale of the problem. Because despite all our progress over the decades, malaria still has this stubborn, deadly grip on many parts of the world. It's a constant reminder that our current tools, well, they just aren't enough to win this fight on their own. And the absolute heart of this crisis is Sub-Saharan Africa. Just look at this number. Over 90% of all malaria cases, and sadly, over 90% of all deaths happen in this one region. This isn't just a statistic on a screen, it's a daily lived reality for millions and millions of people. And the heaviest weight, the biggest burden, it falls on the most vulnerable among us, children under the age of 5. They are hit the hardest. They face infection after infection, which can not only lead to death, but can also cause really severe long-term developmental problems. This is the human cost, and it's what's driving this urgent, desperate search for a new way forward. Now, don't get me wrong, our existing tools, things like insecticide-treated bed nets and indoor spraying, they've saved countless lives. They really have. But we're up against some growing problems. The mosquitoes themselves are evolving, becoming resistant to the very insecticides we depend on. And on top of that, there are still huge gaps in just getting these tools to every single person who needs them. So the bottom line is, we need something new, something truly innovative.
All right, let's have a look at this potential new tool. Scientists are developing a really groundbreaking genetic technology. It's called a gene drive, and it's a completely different way of thinking about how to control the mosquitoes that carry malaria. It's an approach that works from the inside out, right from within the mosquito population itself.
So what exactly is a gene drive? Let's break it down nice and simple. Normally, in reproduction, any given gene has about a 50-50 chance of being passed down to the kids. It's like a coin toss. A gene drive, well, it basically rigs the coin toss. It's a genetic trick that ensures a specific gene is passed on to nearly all of the offspring, generation after generation. It essentially puts evolution on fast forward, letting a trait we want spread through a population incredibly quickly. So how does this actually work in the real world? Researchers are looking at a few different strategies, but the one that's furthest along is pretty bold. It aims to stop the mosquito population in its tracks. Let's dig into exactly how it does that. Okay, so the leading strategy is called population suppression, and the target is one single, absolutely vital gene in the main malaria-carrying mosquito. The gene is called Doublesex, and its name kind of gives you a clue. Doublesex, or DSX for short, is essential for female mosquitoes to develop properly. If a female mosquito doesn't have a working copy of this gene, she can't bite and she can't lay eggs. Right, let's walk through this step by step. It all starts when a modified male mosquito, one carrying the gene drive, mates with a normal wild female. Now, inside their offspring, the gene drive's secret weapon, a system called CRISPR, gets to work. Think of it like a tiny pair of molecular scissors. It finds the original double-sex gene and snip, it cuts it. Then, the cell's own natural repair kit kicks in to fix the break. But here's the clever part. It uses the gene drive itself as the blueprint for the repair, so it ends up copying the gene drive onto the other chromosome. And just like that, the trait is now on both chromosomes, which practically guarantees it gets passed on to almost 100% of the next generation. That's the engine that makes it spread so fast. Now, we've been focused on population suppression, but it's good to know there's another approach being worked on too. It's called population modification. So suppression, as we've seen, aims to crash the mosquito population by hitting their fertility. Modification is different. It aims to edit the mosquitoes so they can't carry the malaria parasite anymore, leaving the population around but basically harmless to us. And the potential here is, well, it's just staggering. The computer models predict that releasing these gene drive mosquitoes could slash malaria cases by over 90% in just 3 to 5 years. Think about that. That would mean a massive drop in infections and deaths, especially for young children. Which of course brings us to a huge question. The science in the lab looks incredible. But moving a technology this powerful, this self-propagating, from a secure lab into actual villages and ecosystems, that's a massive step. It's filled with all sorts of complex ethical and social questions that have to be answered first. And this is exactly where the work of groups like Target Malaria is so important. They aren't just pioneering the science, they're pioneering a careful, phased, community-first approach to make sure this technology is developed as responsibly as it possibly can be. Yeah, this isn't a race to the finish line. Target Malaria is following a very deliberate step-by-step path. They start with the basics, just studying the local mosquitoes. Then they do small-scale releases of modified mosquitoes that are not gene-drive mosquitoes, like the sterile male release they did in Burkina Faso. You see, each of these phases is designed to build knowledge, to test the systems, and most importantly, to build trust and work hand-in-hand with local communities and regulators, long before a gene-drive release is even considered. And engaging with the community isn't some one-off event you just tick off a list. It's a continuous cycle, a constant conversation. It means listening to what people in the communities are saying, adapting the plans based on new scientific findings, and bringing in advice from global health experts. It's a living process, not a static announcement. This whole approach is built on a really important ethical idea: procedural legitimacy. It's basically the understanding that how you make a decision, is it transparent, is it fair, are communities truly involved, is every bit as important as what the final decision is. For technology with this kind of impact, the process is everything. So, as we look to what comes next, the path forward is really about navigating some pretty big challenges. This is about more than just brilliant science. It's about our shared responsibility to handle an incredibly powerful new tool. And there are several key questions that everyone involved is carefully working through. Could the mosquitoes just evolve a way around the gene drive? What would happen to the local food web if you suddenly removed this specific mosquito species? Do the nations in Africa have the right regulatory systems in place to oversee all this? And maybe the trickiest of all, how do you get real, meaningful consent from a whole community for something that won't respect property lines or village boundaries? These are the crucial hurdles to clear. So the path forward in the near term is pretty clear. The big priorities are to run carefully controlled field trials to see if the computer models are right, to keep developing ways to manage any potential resistance, and critically, to continue building those governance models led by the communities themselves. Gene drives won't be a single magic bullet. They'll be a powerful new addition to the toolkit we already use to fight malaria. And that really leaves us with a final and quite profound question. This technology offers us immense power, the potential to maybe, just maybe, end a disease that has plagued humanity for millennia. The challenge for all of us, then, is to find a way to balance that power with the wisdom, the caution, and the collaboration that's needed to use it safely, ethically, and for the good of everyone.
Thanks so much for spending some of your time with us today. We build these videos for you, so your feedback is our compass. What's one subject you've been wanting to see a deep dive on? Let us know in the comments section. We read through your suggestions to decide what we film next. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next upload. Stay curious, and we'll talk to you in the comments.